The success of a public transport system can be measured in many different ways. One way is to count the number of passengers who travel in the system. Another way is fare box recovery. We can see that this website is talking about such a system which computes the total fares by the total operating costs. And if we look around the world, we've clicked on the ratio, and we'll see the Osaka Municipal Transport Bureau recovers 137% of the operating costs by fares, so it runs effectively in terms of operating costs and a profit situation. Similarly, the London Underground runs at 134% of operating costs is recovered as fares. If we look at Oceania, which is Australia, we can see that in Australia, Melbourne is recovering 30%, Sydney Rail is recovering 27%, and Canberra is recovering 21%. Question is, what's it like in Adelaide? This is the South Australian Government budget at June 2020 for the year ending 2020, and it's saying that in the previous year, 18-19, they budgeted that the metro ticket sales would be 90 million, and the actual was 91 million, and they estimate that in the year 2019 to 2020, which is just now, they will receive 95 million, but of course the COVID virus has affected those figures. So the key thing is that in a normal year, the ticket sales for bus, trams and trains totals $90 million. This is the expenditure part of the same budget for South Australia, public transport. I can see that the expenditure on public transport in South Australia is $555 million. So the SDA has a fair income of 95 million and expenses of 555 million. In other words, fare box recovery is 17%. It means that 83% of the expenses has to come from taxes and other sources. So fare box recovery, STA in Adelaide is 17%. This is the area where Adelaide Metro, with its bus, trams and trains, services a population of just on 1 million people, stretching from Gawler, with the Gawler rubber line in red, south to Seaford rubber line, and the Hills line to Belair, and the Art Harbour line and the Grange lines in red, along with the tram line. This is the steel rail system, and the yellow line is the concrete rail system, commonly called the O-Bahn. The blue is the main roads administered by the state government. There are no toll roads at the moment in Adelaide. There used to be a toll road here from the edge of the Hills Face Zone. A place called the Toll Gate is still the visible feature of the toll road that used to be here through the Adelaide Hills, and there used to be also a toll road, the Port Road, from just by the River Torrens down to Old Port Adelaide was also a toll road briefly for a while. At the moment there are no toll roads. Adelaide is well serviced by its public transport system. Here we can see all of the bus stops, tram stops and railway station stops in Adelaide Metro, and down here is the Hills and Mount Barker. So we're well serviced by this, and for one fare you can travel for 2 hours anywhere on this system, changing between each of the 3 modes of transport. Interestingly, one section of the system, the O-Bahn system, actually runs at a profit. The O-Bahn stretches from here at Mobbery through Holden Hill, Paradise Interchange, Clemsing Interchange to the outskirts of the city, and then another tunnel, the first tunnel for public transport in Adelaide, leading into the centre part. This system runs at a profit. The buses on the O-Bahn have 100% fare box recovery. With all door entry. All those people who are here now on the bus. We've just seen a special feature of O-Bahn buses in Adelaide, namely all door entry with the Metro card validation occurring at each of the doors within the bus. So validation occurs within the bus. The advantage of this is, with a 3-door bus, it takes 1/3 of the time for people to get onto the bus, which is a major advantage compared to when you have everybody going through the front door of the bus. This becomes important here at the shopping centre interchange at Golden Grove, particularly here at the major interchange, the Tea Tree Plaza interchange at Mobbery, where all the bus routes from around here come, and in non-peak periods people change buses from one bus route to the next. Similarly here at Paradise Interchange, where buses come together, and if everyone had to go to the front door, but it takes a very long time for a bus to fill up with people. Less so here at the Clemsing Interchange, and of course here at Centre Cross, which is a major shopping centre in the city. Bus stop F1. This is where in the afternoon rush periods the M44 bus and other buses pick up passengers, and if there's one door entry it'd take a lot longer than the 60 seconds for the bus to fill up with people. This is the data which you can obtain from the internet from Data SA for all of the metro card boardings in Adelaide, South Australia. We can see the file is a huge file for those 3 months of 54 megabytes of data. Here's the actual data, and there are two important features here. One is the GTF ID, which is actually the bus stop or train stop or the tram stop where the passenger boarded the system, and the other one is the direction. One is going into the city and two is going away from the city. There actually is an explanation called Department of Planning, Transport Infrastructure, Banded Validation Metadata, and this explains those things. The one thing which is missing from this is where did the person get off the bus, the tram or the train. They know where the passengers get onto the system, but they have no way of knowing at the moment where they get off. London, United Kingdom. This is West Ham. We can see on this Google Earth the City of London with the Tower of London, the central part of London, and over to the west is Heathrow Airport, which is shown here with the purple outline. Here all of the rower lines are in their true positions and are shown in black. Quite a complicated system. The distance from West Ham to Heathrow is about the same distance it is from Gawler to Adelaide Airport in Adelaide, just over 30 kilometres. London Transport has a card called the Oyster Card, which is used on underground, overground, Dockland Rail and British Rail, which you validate at the turnstile, and then you can move within the train system. But the important thing is when you leave the train system you validate and tag off, touch off. If you have to change trains, then you touch out from one station and then move across the next station and tag in, and the system then knows that you are continuing a journey, so that the system in London knows where you got on, where you got off, and also knows if you changed within the system. This is the map of the London Underground. As we know, the London Underground displays as a schematic diagram and doesn't actually represent the real position of these stations. We can see there are 6 zones. There are actually zones 7, 8 and 9 which are further out as patches and not actually full rings. Travel in zone 1 in central London, Greater London, is more expensive because of the greater congestion and larger number of people using it, whereas travel in the outer zones, even though the distance might be greater, is actually at a cheaper rate. If we're going to look at travelling from West Ham here, or from either West Ham station or Stratford station to Heathrow, a distance of 42 kilometres, which is about the same distance as in Adelaide as it is from Central Railway Station, Adelaide Railway Station to Gawler. The Gawler line is 42 kilometres, and the distance from West Ham to Heathrow is also 42 kilometres. Another interesting feature of London is there are actually two sets of administration. The City of London, a small 1 square mile area, has a mayor, and then the rest of London, the County of London, London County, or Greater London, has a different mayor. There are two mayors for London. Now let's look at the travel. To get from this suburb of West Ham, we can see we've got different rail routes, and conveniently we have a system which is showing us the fares in Australian dollars, or we could look at the pound sterling. So go pound sterling. So if we go on this top route, which is only taking 1 hour and 3 minutes, it's costing £27 to £43 depending upon the time of the day, whereas this other route is only £4 to £5, a five-fold difference in cost, because the top one is travelling through the City of London, through Westminster and so on. Please zoom in on that. We can see that it's going from Stratford Station into central London, and you change trains at Lancaster Gate to get to Paddington Station, and you have a 3-minute walk, 4-minute walk, whereas this other route at five-fold cheaper is going to the less popular route south of London through Canary Wharf. If you want to go by bus, it'll above ground, that is, it's going to take a lot longer, 2 hours 47 minutes, but only £4 sterling, and taxi would cost you £65 to £80. So we convert that back to Australian dollars. In terms of Adelaide people, Adelaide to Gawler by train, £45 one way, up to $45 up to $71 one way by one route by underground railway, or it's cheaper at $8 to $10 one way. So the reason why London fare box recovery is above 100% for the underground is because it offers differential rates which encourage people to use less popular routes, because people will take longer to travel but pay less money, and this encourages people to maximize the number of people traveling on the less popular routes. Seeing that London Underground has achieved profitability by using touch off as well as touch on with sophisticated software which can compute differential pricing structures depending upon different routes and congestion. In Adelaide we have the O-Bahn, the concrete railway, which is profitable with just a flat fare, but by the fact that it's so hugely popular, that the number of passengers is so great that it still makes a profit even though it isn't using differential pricing. The all-door entry means that the buses now are less congested, so we saw in the earlier videos where buses are lining up because they had to wait for passengers to enter through the front doors from buses ahead of them in the city. All-door entry should be extended right through the metropolitan area of Adelaide with the transport system. for buses. It already occurs in trains. You can enter any train door, and similarly any tram door. The other feature would be using tag off with sophisticated software to work out differential pricing with zones. The other thing we could do is emulate the success of the O-Bahn busway by other busways. Here are some possible routes where the bus routes could be run as busways with no intersections where buses wait at the intersection. Various solutions can be done using elevated busways or tunnels. But the critical issue is we can see the blue lines all stop here around the city of Adelaide, because for some strange reason the state governments do not actually control the roads within the city of Adelaide, this 1 square mile. They are under the control of the burghers, the councillors, who are elected by a relatively small number of residents, and the interests of those few residents are being usurped the interests of the bigger, wider community. So that what we need to do is actually get the buses using busways within the CBD of Adelaide as well as in the outer sections.